and welcome to our Q&A follow-up session following our 5 Excel functions that will change your life webinar. For the next couple of minutes, Emily John from Franklin John Limited will take you through 3 of the most popular questions she was asked post the webinar session. Over to you, Emily.
Thanks, Hayley. So the 3 questions that I'm going to cover today, the first one is how can I save my favourite chart design? So this will save you some time from recreating your charts time and time again. Second question is about how to do a Vlookup when the data that you want is in a different file and not just another sheet within the current file. And finally, macros. What are they? When would you use one? And how do you record one? So we're going to start with how can I save my favourite chart design? I'm going to take you back to an Excel file for this demonstration. So here we've got a standard bar chart created by Excel in their standard colours or their standard template. We've got some sales data for 12 months of the year across 3 years. But actually you may want to recreate this differently if you've got a customer that likes particular colours or a particular font or format. So I'm just going to make some changes to this chart and then show you how you would save that and reapply it in a different scenario. So I'm just going to change some colours in here. Let's have a yellow for that series. We'll have red for that one, and we'll have a green for that one. I'd like this axis to show the currency rather than just the numbers. So I'm going to format that differently. And then let's have a different font as well. I think we can easily spot the difference. And then I also think I might like to move the legend and put it to the right of this chart rather than underneath. So in layout we've got some different options here. Legend, there we go, show that at the right. So this is now the format I like, and every time I want to recreate a sales bar chart for this customer I want it to look like this, but I don't want to have to make those moves each time. So to be able to save that, you can see you've got chart tools at the top. If you go to the design tab and then second from the left you'll find save as template, and if we click on that it opens up to the standard folder on your computer where the templates are saved. This may differ depending on where your IT department has set things up. You give your template a name and press save. If you're in a different version of Excel, I'll just show you how those work differently. So at the top here you've got the 2007 version of Excel, which works in the same way. So the design tab, save as template. 2010 is the one that I've just demonstrated, and if you're in 2013 you can just right click anywhere on your chart and choose save as template. It all links back to the same folder. So we've got that now and we've got it saved. So how about when we want to recreate it next time? So here I've got another set of data and I want to create the same chart again. So I'm just going to highlight my data, go to insert, and instead of choosing the standard column chart you need to click on this little button at the bottom here which opens up the full menu for charts. And you'll see there's a folder called templates, and in there you should find the one that you've just saved. Let me hover over that. Yep, IGD template, that's the one that I saved. I'll press OK. There we go. You can see it's created that chart with the right colours, the right fonts and the right formatting without me having to make all those individual moves that I did the first time round. So that's that. Really simple and hopefully should save you lots of time and really not complicated at all in this instance. So the next question I'm going to move on to is how do I do a VLOOKUP for data that's in a different file? So I'm going to go to this EPOS example here which you'll be familiar with from last time. If you remember we wanted to add the store format to this, looking at the store number into a store list and finding the format. Now we don't have the store list within this file, it's in a separate Excel file which I've also got open just here. So I'm going to write the formula in the same way that we did last time. So equals VLOOKUP. Open brackets, we choose the store number, and then rather than just clicking on the next sheet which had the store list in, you simply have to click on the file and then select the columns. So it's just one extra move, you select the file and then you select the columns. And when we look at that formula you can see here it's got store list.xls rather than just a sheet number within the current tab. So I'll copy that down. Now once to write the formula you have to have the other file that you're looking up to open, but once the formula is there you don't need to keep the other file open. So I can now close this store list and you can see up here it gives you the full file path to where that list is saved that it's looking up against. Now there are a few things to watch out for here. If the information that you're looking up in the other spreadsheet is likely to change regularly, unless you open that new spreadsheet each time the data won't refresh automatically. So you see there's a data tab at the top here, and a Connections tab. If you click on Refresh All, that will just go back to that original file and pull through the latest data. There is a risk that if you move the original file, or either this original file or the one that you're looking up to, if they move location and end up in a different folder, your Vlookup won't work anymore. It'll get confused as it won't know where to find it, and it'll come up with an NA, which is we know we don't want when we do a Vlookup. If that happens and you've moved it, you can repair it without having to rewrite the whole formula. You can go to this Edit Links button up here. You can change the source, and then from your file list you can select where that new folder, where the folder in which that file is now saved. Once you click OK, it should update and will be back to normal again. There's just a reminder there of how you find that. Refresh All updates the information. Edit Links is where you have to go to if you need to change the file location. So in an instance where the data is changing regularly, I suggest you leave it like this. However, in this instance, the store format is very likely to change over time, so pretty much will be fixed as it is now, in which case I would always recommend removing the formulas and putting the values in instead, so there's no risk to that data. So I'm going to highlight the whole column, copy it, and then paste values. Excuse me. So that's Vlookup in that instance. Another question that came up just as an aside was what happens if you want to look up something that's on the left of the lookup value. Sadly, there's not a quick answer to that. Vlookup only works from left to right. The quickest way to do it is simply to cut that column and paste it against the left of the information that you want to look up. There is a more complicated formulas involving the index and the match functions, but I think they're a bit too advanced for what we're doing at the moment. The easiest and quickest thing is to move the value that you're looking up to the left-hand side. Okay, the final question about macros. What is one, when would I use one, and how do I record one? So a macro is a way to automate a task that you perform repeatedly or on a regular basis. It's a series of commands and actions that can be stored and then run whenever you need to perform that task in the future. You can record or build a macro and then run it automatically to repeat the steps of the actions that you've recorded. So effectively, you can make a file update, some copy and pasting, formatting cells. Excel will remember those steps that you take and repeat them when you activate the macro. So tasks that you would use them for are typically really repetitive in nature and therefore can provide significant time savings if a macro does the work for you. So you're letting the computer do the work instead of you typing and clicking the same things over and over again. Now, to be able to record a macro, you need to have a developer tab within Excel, which most people don't have set up as standard. Once it's there, it'll be there every time you open Excel, so I'll show you how to do that now. If you're in the 2010 or the 2013 versions, then you click File, Options down the bottom here, and then Customize Ribbon. And you can see here you've got all the tabs that you're used to seeing. There's a developer one which is unchecked, so if you tick that box and press OK, developer will now appear at the top. If you're in the 2007 version of Excel, there's some instructions on the screen now as to how you need to activate it. So you'd press the Microsoft button in the top left-hand corner, then choose Excel Options. From there you can choose the popular category, and under Top Options for working with Excel, you select the Show the Developer tab in the ribbon and click OK, and it should have exactly the same effect as what I did on screen just there. So recording a macro is pretty simple. You just start recording, you make all the moves that you want it to copy, and then you tell it to stop recording. And then when you've done that, you save the file as a macro-enabled file in order for it to work again in the future. So I'll show you an example here. Here I've got an EPOS tracker, which is updated weekly. So each week new information is added to it, and the sales update and shift along. So we've got last week, 4-week sales, year-to-date numbers. So updating this is a bit of a repetitive task, and I'll show you how it's done when I record the macro. So as an example, here's my input tab. I've got some new data I want to add to this file. So using my Control and Shift shortcuts, I'm going to copy and paste this information. I'm going to put it in here, and then some formulas that I want to copy down. Now once that's done, There's 3 different pivot tables here. They all need to be updated and refreshed, and then some information copy and pasted. So if you're relying on doing this manually, you may make a mistake, forget a step, and then the numbers on this top sheet will be thrown out. If I record a macro, then it makes sure each of those steps is taken perfectly each time. So I'm in the Input tab, I've got the latest information. So to record a macro, click on the Developer tab at the top. There's an option here for Record Macro. I'll click on that. And you just need to give it a name. You should give it a name of something that it does so you can remember what it's for. I'm going to call this one Update. You click OK. From now on, everything I do will be recorded by Excel. So, my new data's in. I'm going to go to Top Sheet 1, right-click and refresh my pivot table. Copy this data, paste it here. Go to the second one, refresh that. Copy this data, paste it here. Third one, refresh this. Copy this, paste it here. And then when all that's finished, I want the macro to take me to the top sheet so I can review all the data and end up here. So that's where I want to be, that's where I want the macro to finish. So I need to tell it to stop recording. Bottom left-hand corner here, you can see there's a blue box appeared. If you click on that, the macro stops. There we go. So for this macro to be able to work, I now need to save this as a macro-enabled workbook. So File, Save As, and where it has Save As Type Excel Workbook, if you click on there, the next one down, macro-enabled workbook, is the one that you want. So we give that a name and save it. To show you how the macro now works, let's assume I'm back at the Input tab and I've just put some more information in. When I want to run a macro, just click on Macros and you'll get a list here of any that you've recorded. Here's Update, the one I want to run, so I just click Run and it goes through those 6 or so steps that I did and gets you back to the instant. It gets you back to the beginning in an instance really, really quickly. And like I said, no chance of making a mistake once it's been pre-recorded, just like that. You may often see a warning come up on a file when you open it asking if you want macros to be enabled or not. If you've got, that's what it means, that you've got a macro within that file, and if you don't say yes, enable them, when you try and run a macro it won't work. So any files that you save on in, make sure you always enable them when you open that file again. But however, I tend to think that unless it's a very simple macro, that an inexperienced user will end up more confused and have spent more time trying to record it than they'll have ultimately saved. If you do want to master them, however, there are many helpful videos on YouTube that will take you through it step by step, and I recommend practicing quite a few times before you put it on one of your important files. So with that, I'm going to hand back over to Heidi. Thank you very much.
We hope you have found this quick session useful. And if you wish to contact Emily regards any further questions or training for your team, please see her contact details on the closing slide. Thank you.